Well, hi, everyone. This is Michael, and welcome to the LoveWorks Dreamer and Doer podcast. It's at LoveWorks where we believe that you are never too young to be a dreamer, and you are never too old to get started working on your dream. We definitely know that there is not a shortage of great podcast options that are out there, so we definitely want to thank you so much for tuning into ours. And don't forget, too, there's always an opportunity to subscribe to our podcast, Dreamers and Doers. You can do that on YouTube and also, too, on your favorite streaming platform. So whether that's Apple and iTunes, SoundCloud, Spotify, you can find us there. We'd love for you to give us a star, and any star that you'd like, and also, too, a review would be awesome.
And inspire you to become the best version of yourself for tomorrow.
Yes, and one of the best ways that you can become the best version of yourself that we've heard interview after interview, guest after guest has been personal growth. And so each week we like to curate different ways to grow in your personal growth journey. And whether that's following a blog, a podcast, we'll make those recommendations, curate different kinds of music and books. Today, we're going to take just a moment and we're going to talk about the moment that personal growth became important to us. So, Carolyn, do you have a story for us on how this all started for you?
Yeah, I do. So, it starts, I would say, right after college. And I was actually interning for LoveWorks. And while I was, I think, becoming fanatical and understanding more about my own leadership, it wasn't until I got the book, and it was our first book, reading it together as interns, The End of Molasses Classes by Ron Clark. And let me tell you, Michael, to be honest, when I first received the book, I was like, oh, great. I think I had just finished college. And so I was like, I don't ever want to touch a book again. I'm done. Like, I'm really, truly done. But reading this book together as a group, and it was one of those surprising moments as I was reading through it. And I was not a teacher at the time, but the book is kind of geared towards educators. And I was not a teacher or anything like that. But I found myself very drawn to the information and seeing how I could actually apply it to what I was doing actively at LoveWorks. And I found myself surprisingly enjoying a book that wasn't just about fluff, but rather was meant to actually encourage and to inspire and spark change. And so I would say that was kind of the moment when I think realized maybe not all books are boring if they're meant to help me, and they're actually very applicable and very helpful. So I would say that was probably the first awakening moment of realizing that books can be really interesting and they can help.
That is awesome. Well, I remember being a part of that moment pretty vividly. That's cool. Mine happened around college as well, but I believe that I was a student in college at a different period of time than when you were a student in college. And I would say there's a couple big defining moments for me, and one just had to do with the environment. And so I didn't exactly have an appetite for personal growth while I was a undergrad student at Arizona State University. While I'm sure there were a micro population of students that were into personal growth there, the vast majority that in crowd I happened to be hanging out with weren't. And so it was a transfer from ASU to Oral Roberts University and Tulsa. And so faith, my personal faith, and a quote played a big part in my personal growth journey. And I still remember to this day a quote that I memorized, maybe in the first one I memorized in my early 20s. And the quote was, "Failure to prepare is preparing to fail." And so I remember that first book that I started reading, and that really then launched me, into the journey of really realizing, as I was taking in information and applying some of it, then I realized like how much more out there was for me to learn and grow. And so that definitely made all the difference. We hope my story, Carolyn's story, further just encouraged you and inspired you to continue on your personal growth journey. Well, Dreamers and Doers, we are absolutely thrilled this morning to have an opportunity to sit down with our guest that you're about to meet. But first, I'd love for you just to hear our format at Dreamers and Doers. Each week at Dreamers and Doers, we have the opportunity to sit down with a different guest who takes some time to be able to share at least least one of their dream stories. And we don't like to stop there, but we like to rewind and go back and hear about early childhood and even what were some of those initial steps that our guests took forward to reach towards their goal and towards their dream. And we hope that it's going to encourage you to get from the place you are today to the place that you want to tomorrow, and to make a difference in the world and make it a better place. Our guest today certainly has done that. So let's meet our dreamer and doer today. His name is Robert Katende.
Robert is the founder of Smile Africa's children's home and school in Uganda. Robert himself was an orphan when he lost his dad, and it brought his education to an end at the age of 6, since his mother did not have enough money to get him and his brothers to school. So he decided then to start teaching his brothers how to read, and to his surprise, children from the neighborhood started to join. He realized many children did not attain basic education in life, and decided that the lack of funds to go to school actually stops with him. He started saving up money as he worked somewhere as a cleaner, rented 2 rooms where children could gather and learn. Everyday numbers increased, and there was a need to provide good education to these little ones, hence the birth of Smile Africa, Children's Home and Orphanage.
Hi, Robert.
Hey, how are you? Thank you for having me.
Oh, great to have you on the podcast today. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you so much. You're welcome.
So our students have to already be wondering, what is it like where you're at right now in Uganda? What's the temperature like? What time of day is it?
Uganda is one of the best countries in the world. Actually, we are called the Pearl of Africa. It is surprising. It may rain in the morning, and in the evening it shines. So we don't have dry season. We don't have wet. We only have dry and wet seasons. But our climate is tropical, so it keeps on changing every day. That's why we are called the Pearl of Africa.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. I wish we had some tropics right now. I think in Oklahoma it is it's cloudy out, it's kind of windy, which is normal, which is our usual. Sometimes it gets sunny around here.
And here we have never seen snow. We have never seen such things. So when it rains heavily, that's when actually when we say this is a bad weather. So we are blessed. In other words, we have a good country. Yeah.
Oh, we could borrow some of your weather, that is for sure. Well, Robert, I love getting to ask this question because we get to kick off at the Dreamers and Doers podcast with it. We know that you're a dreamer. We know you're a doer, and you've accomplished so much with Smile Africa. But I wanted to ask you, which one comes more naturally to you? Do you feel like you're more naturally a dreamer or more naturally a doer?
Actually, I'm more naturally both. I'm both. Actually, I'm both.
Well, you made that easy for us. Well, if you wouldn't mind, Robert, we know you're both for sure, and we're real excited for everyone to be able to learn about your organization and the tremendous impact that is having in the lives of students. But if you wouldn't mind, could you take us back just a few years to your childhood? And would you mind just painting a picture for us of what life was like growing up?
Okay, so actually, growing up in African countries, particularly Uganda, whereby your dad has an education, your mom has an education, and you are living in a slum area, it is really very difficult to survive, because almost 80% of children who are born in slums, it is very hard to survive. So I was at a young age whereby my dad passed away, and he was the one actually going to work and look for everything, at least to take us to have an education. I don't know whether he knew the importance of education. That is why he was working so hard to take us to have education. But unfortunately, he had to pass away before us getting anywhere. So as a tendency here in Africa, when a father passes away, it is a responsibility of the firstborn. It doesn't matter at what age, it doesn't matter. But you have to take care of the family. You are a man in a house now. So I had to drop out of school there so that I can look for my family something to eat. Remember, my mom didn't go to school, so she was also staying home, you know. So I had to drop out of school and start working, looking for work to start at least to have something for my family. And the reason why I choose to go and look for work in a hotel is just because to have the leftovers of food from the clients that actually have left food on the plates. So I got a job in a hotel. So I started cleaning up, but I made a good relationship with some people who were washing the plates so that they can reserve the leftovers, and I take that at home. So it was really a tough time, but I was happy. At least I was providing something to eat to my family. So we let a date. So I started, you know, I knew the importance of education, and at least if I had an education, I wouldn't have been someone who's mopping at what at the hotel. So I started trying to teach my brother how to read and write. Since we're in slums, this is whereby actually, if you have a small house, a house is for everyone. You don't have, you may find even no windows. You just put a cloth in the window. So when I used to come back and train my brother how to read and write. So that is where all of these children from slums started coming up, because I was so funny. I was friendly. I think I had something different in me, how I handle the children. So a lot of children started coming up and joining me evening time when I used to come back, and I teach them, you know, putting a bench outside. Then I try to teach them something as I walk to the hotel, because my first point of working was providing my home something to eat, and also taking my family away from the slum area. So I started saving money, and I got some money. By the time I got the money, I started getting taken by these kids. I really fall in love with them. Actually, my brother, when in that due course of passing away of our dad and everything, my brother got sick of malaria. And remember, we didn't have money to take him to the hospital. So malaria caused damage to his brain. So however much I was persisting to teach him, he couldn't pick up anything. But I said, no. However much he doesn't pick up anything, but I can train these other ones at least to become a brother to him, so that I can live. If I pass away, it will be like he has a lot of brothers to help him. So I started teaching him how to read and write, how to do what and what. So that's where all people started coming up and joining. Remember, I was working somewhere and I was really saving some money, and I was lucky enough to have some this leftover food to take to my family and saving. So I came to a decision whereby I had to make a decision, taking my family into a good house, or hiring these 2 rooms to teach these children. It was a big decision for me. Since I was so much falling in love with these children, I told my mom about what I'm feeling, and it was really hurting. But what she told me was, Robert, do what feels that it is best for you or best for us or what you feel. So immediately I got my little savings I got. Then I rented unfinished buildings, no windows, no doors, slum areas. So I rented them, and I started teaching these children. So I'm cutting this story short. I don't know if it is okay.
No, this is great, Robert. Robert, real before we get into even that part of the story, how old were you approximately when you started working with your brother?
When my dad passed away, I was at a young age. Actually, I was below 10 years. I was around 10 to 9 there. So
wow,
I had to drop away and start working. I may say I was a minor, but I wasn't supposed to work. But as you know, if you don't have anything to eat, you have to work.
Yeah,
you
absolutely.
have to work. Yeah.
So you took on, at about 10 years old, this massive responsibility. And as you're telling this story, I'm just recounting and even thinking about just my life and growing up here in America, where, growing up at that age, it was more or less about my parents, trying to get me involved in this activity or that opportunity while taking on about the least amount of responsibility as possible, where your life and your story is completely flipped around, where you're taking on a massive amount of responsibility. And so really, I don't know if you would say it like this, but you naturally saw the need for your brother to learn, and you took that on yourself. You didn't necessarily have a vision for a school. So can you talk with us about the moment that your eyes were opened, about there possibly being something more, that could impact kids, that are growing up, in the area like you described?
Yeah, actually, when I started teaching these children, since my brother was sick and he couldn't get anything that I was teaching, something came into my mind and told me that, Robert, if you cannot help your brother to read and write, at least create more brothers that will help your brother. Because anything can happen to you. So does it mean if you leave him, he will not have any brothers? So I started teaching these children, focusing on them, in return to act as my brothers and sisters. So and actually I got an experience that actually kept me moving so much. I was away, and my brother and my mother was away. Then my brother got into a very big trouble, and he couldn't manage to go out of it. Surprisingly, these children that I was teaching were the one to help and bring up that brother back to home. So that thing taught me so much that I can create a lot of brothers. And when I was teaching them, using all my savings to hire the 2 rooms, I was starting now to visualize saying that if you want to help all of these children, if you want to help Africa, take these children to school so that they understand the value of, of education. So that's where the vision started, coming up, that maybe.
No, it's beautiful. I love hearing the story of, of creating more family too, because I think it's beyond even just the education, but it's obvious that you care about the people and the children that are coming in, and that there's love there. Robert, can you tell me more about the name of Smile Africa? When did this officially get a name? How did you name it?
This is an interesting story. Actually, I don't know why every person asks me where did you get this name, Smile Africa?
It's a name.
Well, it's because you have such a great natural smile, right, Robert? Is that why you?
Now, where I got the name, actually, at first we didn't have a name. Since I was focusing to creating brothers and sisters, so we didn't have a name. So one day, one time, I saw. It's so funny because we actually. One day, one time, I was thinking about how can we really bring up all these children? How can we paint a picture of Islam? How can we change the picture of Islam and change all the behaviors that are happening in Islam, and people start to visit there because every person was scared of going to slum areas. But if you get really to know them, they are the most friendly people that you are and trustworthy because they don't have anything to lose. So they stick to their words. If someone tells you this thing, so that, and I first came up with a smile because a lot of people were saying, "Hey, Robert, whenever you come here, these children they smile a lot. What they are happy, they are what." Then I first come up with smile when I started thinking about actually making this official. So I believe that every child that I have has to smile. And if you go into all of our pictures, it is very rare to find a child with the face of a child not smiling. So and that's why I got a name Smile, because we are always smiling, and I wanted the whole Africa, not only particularly Uganda, but the whole Africa to smile. So that's why there's Smile Africa, because we have the potential. We are the solution for our problems. Yeah.
Robert, that's a beautiful story. I absolutely love it. You're right. I'm thinking about your website. I'm thinking about Facebook and all the pictures that I've seen, and every single face that I've seen, whether it's yours as students or staff members or volunteers, have big smiles on their face, and definitely a source of happiness and encouragement for sure. Robert, in just a moment, we're going to transition with Dreamers and Doers, and we're going to talk more about what you're doing and the impact with Smile Africa. But you have some other fans here in America, and one of those is one of our interns. Her name is Mallory, and in just a moment, you're going to get a chance to listen to a question that she has about Smile Africa. So I want you to meet Mallory.
My name is Mallory Kinchlow, and I am 21 years old, about to graduate at the University of Oklahoma. My dream would be to be an executive director of like a really awesome nonprofit or something, but I also just really want to help as many people as I can, just like I'm noticing Robert's doing that right now. I noticed on Robert's Facebook page on the video with some children that had to walk like a super long distance to get water, and how giving the gift of clean water can change people's lives in a significant way. So me living in the United States my whole life, I've never really had to worry about where or how, my clean water comes from that I can drink. My question to Robert is how much of an impact does clean water have on people's lives? And could you maybe share a story or a time where you've seen this in action, and just how important bringing clean water is to people? Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that question. I loved it so much. So now let me actually first give an example to Smile Africa, because when we transferred from a slum to another area, that is another story, a long one. We actually faced a big problem. That was water. Trust me, because if you don't have clean water, you are going to spend a lot of money in medication. Trust me. So when remember, I didn't go to college. I didn't go to where, but I started actually self-teaching. Self-teaching. And another way how I've been able to improve English is is through these volunteers who come, because we talk and they say, Robert, put this correct. So we faced a big problem of water at school before these a lot of good things happening. And I started going to Google because I believed that Google has everything. So I searched how can we get water besides this national water, which is not available. It is only in towns and cities. So I went to Google. Apart from lakes, rivers, what, where is other sources of water? So I discovered that the whole earth is seated on water. So everywhere there is water. So by that time, we had a friend actually who helped us to drill underground water, because with underground water, it is the most safest water. It doesn't need any purification. It doesn't need anything. So we drilled the underground water, and by then almost 80% of children used to get sick, and we used to spend a lot of money in medication. After drilling water, and we started using that water, then at least we were reduced to 20 to 30, 20, around there. Wow. So about the impact of water here, recently I traveled to other remote areas where Smile Africa wants to do a project, actually a water project in that area. Because the kind of water projects that I really do for people, we drill these underground water wells, we put a water pump. If there is no electricity, we use solar. So this water pump pumps it into a big tank that we put. Then a big tank has taps whereby people come and fetch water. So in the tank, there is an automatic switch. Whenever the water levels go down, the switch pop gets on, and the water comes from down to the water tank. So we traveled to another remote area nearby Smile Africa, and we came to realize there are still people suffering from water. And I took some of my children to see where we came from and where people are suffering with not even a clean water. People may take clean water slightly, that clean water is everywhere, but no, it is not clean. It is not everywhere. If I share with you the videos that we took where the people are getting water, you may end up crying. So we are in a process of actually fundraising, and we collect money to build for that community at least a well-established water well, because water it can save a lot of money, because children, they take water. Everything is cooked by water. Everything is run by water. If you have good water, then that means the only problem we have is mosquito. Only.
That's true. No, Robert, you painted I feel like a pretty clear picture of the importance of water, and I feel like you're offering two really important key things for a future for these children. You know, it's the education, and it's also the health. It's the health of them as well. You have such a huge vision for Smile Africa, and I love that it's not just for Uganda, but also just for Africa in general. And so,
one thing I would like to add on about water, before building another community water well that we built sometime, our health center, we have a health center which actually treats people from the community. So in our laboratory of the health center, the diseases coming from water reduced ever since we built a water well. So when we check into our books, how many patients that we have treated due to not good weather, not good water, the number keeps on dropping like this. Whenever we build a water well, the number continues dropping. So that's a very good sign that good water saves a lot of lives and money.
No, it's true. It's true. No, thank you. And Robert, I know we'll ask at the end too, of course, like how can we continue to help in these areas, and what can we do even from here? And so, I know you have a goal in the future of 2026, and seeing Smile Africa expand and do more in the surrounding areas. And so I wanted to ask more about what's your vision for this 2026 and what keeps you motivated to do the work?
Actually, one thing I believe in is everything is possible, because who am I to come from Islam? Actually, I'm an example of possibility that everything is possible, because who am I to come from Islam to this level? So we have given future to a lot of children that didn't have hopes. Remember, around 80 to 70% of children from slums don't come up. Either they die, or they get into criminal things, or they do a lot of things. So our vision of 2026, actually, we started it. Remember, as I was telling you, that we visited some communities and we identified the issue of water. So we have started this vision of actually going to community, seeing what is the most important thing that is needed in the community, like water projects. And in 2026, we want Smile Africa not relying on donations, because, as you know, all organizations rely on donations. If there are no donations, then that means no operations. Remember, we have teachers to pay, we have a lot of workers to pay, we have medical workers to pay, so we have bills to pay. But now, our vision before 2026, actually, we want to do this before 2026. By 2026, we say, we have already done everything. Let's extend the vision. So we want to make Smile Africa self-sustainable in one way or the other, because, as I told you, we have the best climate ever. We are the Pearl of Africa. That means what we have to do is use the best climate and best soils to achieve it. So we want to do a poultry project whereby it is also a source of earning to Smile Africa, and also a source of teaching to these children, because we are not going to hire any person to come and work into this poultry farm unless whereby there is an emergency issue, like any diseases which require professionalism. These same children are going to work in that same poultry project. It will be providing food, and the left eggs, then we sell them so that we can have money to at least sustain the school. So we want more focusing on farming things, but we want specifically to start with poultry, because we have ever done it, and we knew that we were doing it not from a sustainable solution, and all things were used up by children, So now we want to focus, how can we balance the children, and how can we balance the business, so that this poultry farm can sustain the school. Because this corona has taught us a lot of things. We lost almost 80% of our people who used to support us, and the survival up to now is a very difficult thing. So we cut a lot of things from the children so that we can sustain. So that's the projects we want actually to do before.
No, that is a huge vision, and we are cheering you on here from America. We definitely don't want to just take your word though for for the weather.
Actually,
So perhaps Carolyn and I may need to see if we can get out there and visit and experience some of this beautiful tropical climate.
Okay. Actually, what I may say that you also in US have poultry projects, but the way how you do your poultry project is very different from ours, because yours is more of machines. It requires a lot of money. I heard that farmers in US are the most, actually, they are rich farmers, but here how we do our farming is we do it locally. I think with 10,000 to 15,000 US dollars, we can start up a big project here. And in your country, with 10,000 or 15,000 US dollars, it can start up a big farm, isn't it?
Yeah. It's funny. I'm not a poultry farmer myself, but I gotta imagine, it is done a little differently around here. And there's different methods and ways to do that as well. But I love hearing just the vision for it of like, I can just imagine. I love Michael, he just mentioned like, let's go out to Uganda. Let's see the beautiful weather. I'm like, let's go pet a chicken. Like, it's going to be great.
Well, Carolyn, speaking of petting chickens, you just captured our audience, which are primarily students who love animals. Robert, there's a question we love to ask each of our Dreamer and Doer guests. And if you had the opportunity, you might not change anything about your life. But if you had to go back and give yourself maybe some advice, some encouragement, around middle school age, 10, 11, 12, 13 years old, what is one bit of advice and encouragement that you might give yourself?
Wow. That's really a nice question. So actually, if I flash back, the decision I made between my family and hiring these 2 rooms for these children, if I had chosen my family before these other children, I would have regretted it in my life, because who am I? Actually, I'm talking to you because I'm running Smile Africa. But if I had chosen between Smile Africa, between the children, and between hiring a good room for my family, it would have been a different case. So the advice I would have given myself when I was still at 12, or still at a young age, I would have at least included my mother in the lessons I used to have and teach her how to read and write. Because if she knew it, she would have been the strongest person. Yes, now she's the strongest person at Smile Africa because she's always there 24/7 and she runs a lot of things. But imagine if she had some education about it, how she would be.
Yeah.
So I would have at least included my mom to the lessons.
It's a beautiful sentiment and beautiful heart there. I love Robert. You just exude love. I don't know if you know this, but there's definitely. I know you mentioned this earlier about it feels like you treat the children differently, or the children respond to you differently, and I feel like I can totally tell why that is. There's just a gentleness. There's a kindness there that I see for sure. And so, Robert, for our very last question, this is a chance for you to just share whatever is on your heart. And so we love to give our guest speaker 1 minute, 60 seconds to share whatever they want to the dreamer and the doers that are out there listening right now. So are you ready?
Yeah, sure.
All right, ready, set, go.
Okay, my advice to everyone is, if there are children listening, or parents, or grandparents, or grandfathers, everyone who's listening, every child has a vision. Trust me, every child has something that has something that is meant to be. Because if you're coming from a family of doctors and you force your son or your daughter to be a doctor, you are actually taking your son into a wrong way. So I believe that every child has a vision and has something that he has to be, and you can only identify it when he's young. Because if a child is always there and always attracts a lot of other children to come nearby, that means that child is really going to be a solution to a lot of people. So another advice I would give, that failing to have an education is not the end of the world. All going into class and you are not performing better is not the end of the world. There are other more important things that you could do better. Because some children have a tendency that if you're not performing well, yes, performing well in classes is good. But if you don't have that in you and you're not performing well, don't say that this is the end of me. No, you still have a chance. You have a live example of me. I didn't go to college, but look where I am. So never give up, and never give up in life. There's always a solution. Thank you.
Robert, thank you so much.
You nailed it. That was special. There's a really neat story on how we actually had met, and I feel very fortunate, very lucky to have met you. Your story just continues to inspire me. I know Carolyn, our team, and I know our listeners as well too. So thank you so much for the wisdom that you have shared at such a young age. We didn't even mention this. We should have had a fun trivia question. Guess how old Robert is?
Yes, actually, I got a phone yesterday, and I got a calculator. I put 2021 minus 1992, and surprisingly, it turned to be 29. You know, I was almost crying. I was like, I don't want to live with age, because people and your children. So I was like, he sees me that everything is possible, no matter what age. So I'm going to miss my 20s, but I've done the best of them.
Oh, you certainly have. You're being used in an incredible way. There is no doubt. Robert, before we send you off to continue to do the great work that you're doing at Smile Africa, listeners that are listening, our watchers, checking out YouTube, what is the best way that we can find you, learn more about Smile Africa, and to support your work?
Online? The best way online?
Yes.
Okay, so we have a Facebook page, and it's Smile Africa Children's Home and School, and we have an Instagram also with Smile Africa, and we have a WhatsApp, because I love so much to interact with one-on-one, because if I love someone sending me a question and I really reply it there and then. I hate it when someone takes a lot of time to reply it. That's why now I prefer more of WhatsApp, because in our country, internet is more limited, but you can save some money for some internet for WhatsApp, because here in our country, we have to pay tax when using social media. So our WhatsApp number is, if it is fine, I can give it out. Then if someone has a question, it is okay to send a question. So it's plus 256 7. How is that? Triple zero. Yes, it is called 000. Then 16 35 95. It is plus 256 7 000 16 35 95.
That is wonderful, Robert. Well, we will also too. Thank you for giving us that number, and that'll also be a number that we're going to include in the show notes when we release the podcast as well. So,
and also we actually opened up a YouTube channel for. We want to change our. As I told you, we want Smile Africa to be self-sustainable. So we opened up a YouTube channel. We are starting music now. So it's Smile Africa Junior School on YouTube channel. So we are trying to go on to so many platforms as possible.
absolutely. Well, again, we'll include that. We'll include Instagram, Facebook, WhatsApp, the new YouTube channel. I'm really excited personally to be able to check that out and to see your kiddos in action and how they're using the gifts within them. So, Robert, again, thank you so much for taking the time today to be part of Dreamers and Doers. We wish you well, and thank you for helping to make us better today.
Thank you so much for having me.
We'll see you. Thank you. Hopefully see you soon.
Okay. See you in Uganda. Thank you so much. Please.
Hey, Carolyn, I'm going to hang on to that word. See you in Uganda. How do you like that?
I really like that. Michael, I'm afraid of birds, but I will go pet a chicken in Uganda.
I'll tell you, with our amazing, I mean, really it is. We say this not lightly, but it really is a privilege and honor to be able to sit down and have conversations with the guests that we do. It sounds like we're going to have a pretty busy next couple of years traveling the world.
Maybe we'll need to get our passports renewed, I think. And all the stamps.
Wow, that was awesome. Well, again, thank you everybody for tuning in to Dreamers and Doers. We always like to remind you that if you want to learn more about LoveWorks, of course, learn about our blog, our podcast, all those great things, you can check us out at loveworksleadership.org. That's the place for all things LoveWorks Leadership.
And remember, real leaders, they don't blend in, but they stand out.
Dream big.
And do your dream.
See everybody. Bye.